Welcome to the Weekly Leader with your host, David Guerra.
Hey, hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Weekly Leader, and I'm your host, David Guerra. You know the premise. I take one notable event from the past week and I break it down, then I add my leadership spin onto it. All right, then next I take one leadership concept, break it down, and also add my leadership spin to it. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get this episode started. In the news. Now that the world has grieved and mourned and moved on from the attention the British monarchy has had, there continues to be other unfolding situations all over the planet. There's hurricanes, tropical storms, illegal immigration, civil wars, the draft in Russia, the Chinese keeping things under the radar, but they are most definitely up to something. Keep an eye on that. Then we come to Iran, and there are repeated human rights violations, and now they are restricting internet access to its citizens. Yeah, definitely get ready for something to happen in Iran as well. Now, folks, there is no shortage of news or noteworthy events, and there is also no shortage of leadership failures and miscues, just as there are leadership successes. And today, well, I want to highlight on a different kind of event that had me going like, wow, did that actually happen? Did that person just step up and take responsibility for their actions? Now, don't get me wrong, the situation has no happy ending, but here's the breakdown. A couple of weeks ago, at a local hike and bike trail in my neck of the woods, a couple of assaults took place. And the victims claimed that it was a man that committed the assaults. And that's who was responsible for this. So then after a very intense and high media push, a man did something so very uncommon in this day and age. He turned himself in. He turned himself into the police. And of course, after turning himself in, he was arrested and charged with 3 counts of assault causing bodily injury and assault with a deadly weapon. Now, as I was watching the news and the story came on, my jaw just literally hit the floor. I mean, well, okay, figuratively, but it hit the floor, and finally, someone took responsibility for their actions and held themselves accountable. You know, sadly, that while the nature of the crimes are heinous, there is some solace in that this individual stepped up and did the right thing. You know, and I call this expression of responsibility as uncommon, because as we as a society are sadly too accustomed to hearing about people committing crimes and then fleeing and evading arrest or hiding under the porch, or better still, expecting family members to perjure themselves just so they don't get caught. So whatever the reason this individual had for committing the crimes he is accused of, you have to say at least that his parents raised him well enough with the expectation that he should stand up and walk into the police station and surrender himself. He committed a crime, do the right thing. Now again, in no way, shape, or form am I condoning the crimes of the accused that he's accused of committing, but I am applauding that he had the wherewithal to realize that his nonsense had to come to a stop, and obviously turned himself in. This certainly helps release the resources that the authorities were utilizing in investigating and looking for the suspect, and hopefully, we're just going to bring the criminal case to a close. And of course, the victims, hopefully they can rest a little bit easier knowing that the accused victimizer is behind bars. See, I told you this was a different type of news event. Now let's take a look at this week's leadership concept. This week, I am talking about respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. See, great teams, great relationships do not take each other for granted, but instead value each other constantly and consistently by being respectful of one another every time, all the time. No conditions included. As I've said before, and without fail, most certainly this message continues to fall on deaf ears. Respect is a two-way street. You have to give it in order to get it. See, respect is never one way or one-sided, and respect is most certainly not conditional. See, individuals can claim they are always the first to give respect, but do not get it back. They are the ones that are either, for whatever reason, never happy with themselves, or are only happy when they can make others unhappy. And that's just plain nonsense, folks. These individuals never have the skills, they don't have the skills, the mindset, or the maturity level to operate at a higher level and fully understand and comprehend that respect is always a two-way street. See, the higher level that is needed to create and maintain great relationships in both personal and professional settings is something that is not automatic. It's learned, it's honed, it's mastered throughout one's entire life. Yet those individuals that function in that at that intentionally reduced level, sadly, are at the mercy of their egos. Thus, the natural outcome of the respect they receive usually comes from bullying or intimidation, or both. This bullying and intimidation is disguised in the form of demanding to be respected. People in positions of authority, especially those that never work their way into a position of authority, usually demand to be respected. Or people that have had a perception that because of who they are, what they know, what rank they have in the organization, the team, or family structure, the respect is supposed to be automatic. Now, if you fall into one of these two categories that I just mentioned, then all I can say is seriously, stop living in a world of delusions. Stop. Because those that believe this is the only way to get respect, well, they will never be great leaders, even while their very own egos will write those checks. But because their egos will have them think otherwise, but they can't cash them. See, when it comes to respect, great teams, great relationships are nothing but mutually assured and mutually supported respect. Non-negotiable respect is a two-way street, regardless of rank or position. When it comes to great teams and or great relationships, respect is earned and given all the time, every time. It is through that mutual respect that people can work together, get things done, and in the end build stronger and better relationships. Relationships, personal or professional, benefit greatly when respect is given and it is returned without egos getting in the way. And for those that still have no clue as to why respect is not automatic, well, let me clarify this. Let me clarify it a little bit. The only respect that is automatic is respecting the rank or the title without necessarily respecting the individual. Now, for example, in the military, you must render a salute to a ranking officer. It's a sign of respect. Now, whether you like the individual as a person or not, that point is moot. You still have to salute the rank. And having an understanding of what must be done and needs to be done, well, again, showing that respect, the mission is greatly enhanced because respect is present throughout the entire process and among all individuals involved. Again, respect. So stop taking people for granted, and most of all, stop expecting them to respect you because you said so, or because they fear you, or you intimidate them, or point blank, you're just a bully. Be a great leader by offering respect 100% of the time, no matter if you feel they do not return the respect to the level you believe you should receive. Folks, respect is work, just like everything else. When it comes to giving and getting respect, there is nothing to be taken for granted. And on that note, give respect, you get respect. And also, you know what? That's all I got to say about respect. Listen, thanks for watching. I'm Dave Guerra, and while I do appreciate you watching, I also invite you to come on back to next week's episodes. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe down here. Listen, talk to you later. Thanks a lot.